All right, so we have Will Tracy here. He is a Plymouth State University graduate. He works at the Mountain Valley Treatment Center as a residential faculty and the leader of their adventure module. Will, thank you for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Kevin. It's an honor.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I actually got to know you in our wilderness therapy class we had with Will Waite last semester. I was attracted to interviewing you because it seemed like you had a lot of prior experience working with kids in the outdoors, and that's relatively new to me, so it was the opportunity to interview you. So thank you for coming on. I want to start off by asking you, how did you find your passion in the outdoors? Like, what was that experience like for you growing up?
I don't know if I would say that I found my passion for the outdoors as much as I would say I realized how much the outdoors meant to me at a certain point.
Like, was there a defining moment for you that came over, or was it gradual? Like, did you grow up in that environment?
Yeah, I would say the defining moment for me was when I was young and I moved from New Hampshire to relatively urban Pennsylvania, and the change from the beautiful white pines and maples of New England to industrial complexes and power plants of Pennsylvania was drastic and showed me the value of wild spaces.
Now, maybe you were just in the wrong part of Pennsylvania, because I grew up in Lancaster County, and I take great offense to that. You grew up in York County?
Harrisburg,
right? Okay, so that's Bishop McDevitt High School, second.
Yeah, Central Dauphin High School.
Central Dauphin, okay. I went to Ephrata, so I think we crossed paths. Like, did you play any sports in high school?
I did. I played lacrosse for 4 years in high school.
Right on. So how did you find Plymouth State University if you moved to PA when you were...
Right, so finding PSU, I knew I wanted to go to school in New Hampshire, Vermont, or Maine, just somewhere in northern New England. And I also knew that I specifically wanted to work in wilderness therapy. So I looked for a program that had some type of outdoor education, therapeutic, adventure programming, that type of major. And I stumbled upon Plymouth, toured a few other colleges in northern New England, and Plymouth just seemed like the right fit, this close to the White Mountains, and the adventure ed program was pretty developed.
So you mentioned that you came into college wanting to do wilderness therapy. Did you have any experience with that as youth, or what? Like, because that's such an obscure thing. Like, what was your draw to that?
Well, I did not have my own personal experience with wilderness therapy. Probably could have used it.
Couldn't we all?
We always could. I had some friends from Harrisburg who went out to Utah for wilderness therapy, and when they came back, talking to them was a fascinating experience. They had these incredible insights, and they had matured so much. And suddenly I had this realization that I could live the life in the wilderness that I wanted while giving back to society and contributing in some way. So I knew that that would be a path that I wanted to follow.
Right on. So it's fulfilling, and you get your adventurous fix at the same time.
Exactly.
Awesome. So moving forward to Plymouth State, you were drawn to the mountains. Did you try and bring your lacrosse skills up here? Did you stick to, skiing? I know the mountains up here are a little bigger than Blue Mountain, which I assume you grew up skiing, right? That's 900 feet vertical drop.
Blue Mountain, I ski at Ski Round Top. Mostly.
Oh, even better. That's probably 600, right?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe 500 or 600.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just one strip of man-made snow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So coming to Plymouth State, did you bring any of those skills you had up here playing lacrosse or anything like that?
I did come to Plymouth State with all of my lacrosse things and with the possibility of playing.
Did you come in anticipating playing, or were you just leaving the opportunity open?
I came anticipating to play.
Yeah.
And then I quickly realized how much more fun there was to be had in the mountains around Plymouth. And I started climbing at Rumney and going trail running and skiing. Next thing I knew, lacrosse was just a thing of the past for me.
Yeah. Awesome. So Rumney, New Hampshire, I don't know if anyone on here knows, but Rumney is about 15 minutes from Plymouth State. World-class rock climbing, right? Would you agree?
Definitely agree.
It's a checklist on North American climbing. How were you turned on to that? Did you know about it, or did you have a buddy just show up with a rope and say, hey, let's get out? How did you get involved with that?
I knew about Rumney before I came to Plymouth on 25, and you can see Rumney, but seeing it from the road was just like, oh, that is fantastic. I'm going to have to get on that. And right when I got here, I started climbing. I met people when I came to visit because I knew I wanted to go in adventure ed, and so I met other adventure ed people and started climbing right as I got here. The rest is history.
Yeah. All right, so what about the Adventure Ed program? Was it a good experience for you? Do you feel like they prepared you for a career within wilderness therapy?
Absolutely. The Adventure Ed program put me in a position to succeed in both summer jobs while I was still in college and then graduating, working in wilderness therapy and adventure therapy. Remember my first year was a focus on hard skills and instructional skills, taking the climbing class, paddling class. Both were awesome. Learned a lot more about things that I already knew that I thought I knew a lot about. And then I remember taking the teaching theories class with Christian, and he really showed me that this work is so much more about the ability to tie knots and paddle as much as it is to relay that information to other people. And so right off the bat, my first summer of my freshman year, I worked for Springfield College running an adventure trips for a summer camp, and I was able to apply the teaching skills and the hard skills right away.
Nice. Where else did you work? Can you briefly tell me about that, just so listeners can hear different experiences that you've had, poke ideas for possible summer employment while they're in school?
Right. So after my freshman year at Plymouth, I knew I needed a more specific adventure job.
What do you mean by that, a more specific adventure job?
Like, before I came to college, I had spent a summer coaching sailing on Lake Ontario, and that was sort of adventure ed. I wanted to get more into the traditional skills of backcountry travel, climbing, paddling, hiking.
Okay.
More of the
more
skills.
Getting out there.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you graduated this past fall, correct?
Right.
Fall of 2016?
Yep.
And you found employment pretty quickly after that?
Yep.
Can you speak a little bit about how you found this position, anyone that connected you with it, kind of how that path has gone for you so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, by the way. When Kevin and I met in the wilderness therapy class, the adventure therapy class,
That's right.
the man who teaches it, Will White, I had heard so many great things about, and I had one brief interaction with him before I left the summer before to work in wilderness therapy. So I knew I was in this class with this guy who seemed like a legend in the industry.
He found his Southern Achievement, listeners. He's found his Southern Achievement over 25 years ago. They recently had their 25-year anniversary, and the business is still up and running.
So yeah, definitely. I mean, that there is why I was so excited to have a class with this man. And Will White and I talked about adventure therapy and wilderness therapy, and I told him that I was graduating in a couple months. And he turned me on to this program in Pike, New Hampshire called the Mountain Valley Treatment Center. He explained to me how he had helped them get their feet off the ground, and that they had this cool adventure program along with exposure therapy. And right away I was like intrigued by the idea of working in a different setting besides the wilderness and continuing to do therapeutic adventure work. So through his guidance, I followed that path, and one thing led to another, and I ended up working right after I graduated, and been working there ever since.
Nice. So can you tell me a little bit more about your experience there?